Today on Locked On Red Wings, it was a night of firsts and milestones as Detroit bounces back and beats the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty, Saturday night's game was much, much better than the home opener against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Red Wings down 2-0 early. This time did not let them kind of knock them down. Stayed true to their play style, and eventually the floodgates opened. Ended up winning 6-3 with 3 unanswered goals in the second period. And today we're going to be discussing that win. It had a couple of milestones as well as a NHL first for one of the players. We'll break that all down in today's episode. Before we get to any of that, though, I got to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Scotty. As always, we lead off here with our Difference Maker segment. What, in your eyes, was the difference maker in this 6-3 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs?
So I've been kind of going back and forth. There's 3 guys that I think it pretty clearly could be. And I've been going back and forth. I'm sure, we have the same 2 or 3 in mind. So I'm sure if, the ones that I don't pick, you'll pick up my slack there. But this was such a... after the first period especially, such a fantastic team performance, and we saw so much good, I think, from this game. I'm going to go with Lucas Raymond, I guess.
The guy who scored 2 goals, I would say.
Hard not to, yeah. I do, we'll talk about the 2 other guys I have in mind, I'm sure, but I do... Obviously, it's hard to ignore Lucas Raymond there. Had 2 goals in this game. And obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him throughout the summer of what he could be, what he might be this year, etc. And I think that this is just a really exciting start to the year. And yeah, when you look at a 6-3 game that had an empty netter in it, 2 goals is
2 empty netters.
Right. Well, yeah, true. Yeah, I forgot about the cop one even. So, yeah, this was a really solid all-around game that we'll talk about, but I think Lucas Raymond's kind of at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to go with the guy who scored 2 goals, one of which being the game-winning goal, and then on top of that, the game-winning goal was also his 100th NHL career goal. Yeah. This is the type of game from Lucas Raymond that, I mean, that's the thing too, is it wasn't just Lucas Raymond who played well, right? You'd be remiss to mention Raymond's 2 goals without the shifts that the team compiled in front of him. It was that first goal was just a really nice sequence of offensive pressure, continually getting to the puck first, cycling the puck, a cycle between Emmitt Finnie and Dylan Larkin, who Emmitt Finnie on that first goal of Raymond's collected his first NHL point as well with the secondary assist. It doesn't happen without the continued pressure. You look at the second goal that Raymond scored. It was a power play goal, but again, it's just that consistent pressure. Patrick Kane fed him that. Patrick Kane had 3 assists. Alex DeBrincat had 3 assists. The top
Kane
6.
Had 3 points.
Kane had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. DeBrincat had 3 assists.
Had 3 assists.
Yes, thank you. This was a masterclass in forechecking and offensive pressure by the Detroit Red Wings from start to finish. And it's what we saw in Montreal, but they got rewarded this time and made fewer mistakes. That's how this team is going to win hockey games, is by, and McClellan has talked about it, they're going to be a very offensive heavy team. They're going to be a all gas, no brakes. That's how they're going to have to win hockey games. And in the first game, you saw the ugly side of that, where you dominate the opponent, but because you're overly aggressive, because that's the thing too, is there's aggressive and then there's overly aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they were overly aggressive in the first game, made really simple mistakes that McClellan called out in the post-game media availability as being like
so
bantam mistakes.
He does that with like no hesitation, dude. He's just like, yeah, I'm let everyone know that, you know what.
He has a really good balance about it too, where his balance is, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell the team. Like, I'm not going to hide from you how I feel, because I'm going to tell the team the same thing, but he will draw a line. He'll be like, I won't tell you that because it'd be unfair to this player in certain questions. Like, he's very honest, but very respectful to the media too. He'll tell them when it's like, no, I'm just not going to tell you that. And that's fine. Like, it just comes across as respectful, and it comes across as respectful to everyone, like the players too. I don't know. I just really love the way he speaks to the media. I digress though. He called it out that it was bantam level mistakes essentially. And that in the next practice, he asked the team, like, are you tired of this yet? Like, are we going to continue to make these same mistakes? And in the second game, there was a pretty glaring mistake that led to the first goal against. But outside of that mistake, the Red Wings dominated this game from start to finish. You look at all the advanced analytics, expected goals percentage at 5-on-5, 66%, Scotty. Scoring chances, 68%. Your actual shot percentage, so you had 64% of the shot share in this game. Corsi 4 was 62. Like, being above 60% is really hard in an NHL game, and they were above 60% in every single statistical category. And, you know, of course, they heavily outshot them. Another game where they held the opponent beneath 25 shots, because if you have the puck more, and if you're having a lot of pressure in the offensive zone, they can't get shots on net if they can't get out of their D zone. So it was just another really, really good game of that play style that we had seen and gotten our hopes up for in the preseason. Like I said, in the first game, we saw the bad side of that, is when you're overly aggressive, you make silly mistakes. This game, they were very, very good. They were aggressive, not overly aggressive, and strung together multiple very good shifts in a row, which, Scotty, you might be thinking to yourself, man, Brian's been rambling a lot. We started off talking about Lucas Raymond as a difference maker, but I promise you, this is leading to my difference maker, which is off the board. It's Todd McClellan.
Nice.
Because his ability to right the ship after a bad game and prevent this team from spiraling, it's worthy. It's worthy of being made the difference maker. I really like Todd McClellan's play system that he has implemented. This aggressive nature really suits an offense-first team, and it also helps support a defensively thin team as well. Because while I like a lot of what I'm seeing from defense in Game 2 here, I also understand, like, okay, you have Sider, you have Edvinsson. ASP has a lot of upside, but he's a rookie, so you're going to expect rookie mistakes. And the third pair, you know, is always going to be kind of hit or miss depending on game to game. So keeping the puck in the hands of the offense helps cover those players. And I just really like the system. I really like the way that McClellan speaks to the team and gets their heads right after a loss. So for me, Todd McClellan is actually my difference maker. But as you noted, DeBrincat and Kane are obviously worthy of that all the same as well. And I'm sure we'll talk more about them in segment 2.
For sure. Yeah, no, I like the McClellan shout. And I think that the strength of this team is obviously the forward group, right? And like there's Sider, who's one of the best players on the team, and obviously Edvinsson, and there's some guys that you're hoping have big years. You know, ASP is a rookie on the blue line, but the strength is very clearly the forward group. So I think that this is a way to have them impact the game, your strength impact the game as much as possible, and leave a lot less pressure on your weakness, which is your thin blue line, right? And this is the play style that allows that to happen. This is really, I don't want to say the only way, but this is one of the most effective ways to handle a roster that is assembled in that regard. And so I completely agree with you. And obviously that's something we talked about a lot in the preseason. I'm just glad that we saw them get rewarded for it, because like you mentioned, you know, in Game 1, they did this, but they also left the back door open a ton. And it made it so that even though the Wings outshot their opponent a lot and outshot the Habs a lot, it just didn't matter, because they took advantage of the 4 or 5 high danger opportunities they got in return. So this was a really nice way to showcase what can happen, right? Like what this system can look like when it's firing on all cylinders, and how they're going to, like you said, how they're going to win hockey games this year. And it's just, there's obviously some flaws inherently with running a system like that. And again, we saw that in game 1, but it's so refreshing to see a Detroit Red Wings team with good high-end forwards on it just straight up outshoot their opponent and be the better team at even strength. That's just something that since you and I have been hosts of this show, we literally have not seen, because that's just not how they ever have. What?
Yes. No, that's such a salient point. Like, right. I had that thought last night. I was like, this is back-to-back games where we've put 30-plus shots up against, right. And the first game you took fewer than 20, lost that game in an ugly fashion. But in this game, it was like 23 you allowed. So I'm like, when was the last time the Red Wings dominated possession and shots this much? It is so refreshing to see. And of course, huge sample size disclaimer here, but right now they are second in the league at 5-on-5 Corsi percentage at 62%. That's not going to sustain. It's going to come down. The best teams in the league are usually around 55%.
Yeah.
And they're also second to the Anaheim Ducks, which I don't expect that to stay either.
Hey, man, the Ducks had a game winner on Saturday night.
Well, it's good because I have 3 Ducks on my fantasy team, apparently, that I did not. After I got done drafting, I went, wait, what did I do?
Classic.
But, yeah, that's such a salient point. It's really exciting, too. So, Scotty, let's hit to segment 2. When we return, we'll talk about some notable performers from this hockey game. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year on monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, notable performers in this game. I feel like it's just most obvious to lead off with DeBrincat and Kane. We already mentioned Kane had a goal and 2 assists. DeBrincat had 3 assists, both at 3-point nights. Kane now has 4 points in 2 games, and DeBrincat has 3 points in 2 games. I think he only has 3. I don't think he picked up an assist on that Larkin goal from game 1. So it's pretty simple here. Heck of a game by them, huh?
Yeah, I would say so. The thing that I appreciate about Cat is not only did obviously he have the 3 assists, but he was ripping shots off all night as well. I think he had 3 shots on net and a couple that ended up going wide and wouldn't count as shots on net. So, that is the fact that if Cat can be a guy where, okay, he's going to get his shots off. If they find the back of the net, they find the back of the net. And we know that he can have a 40-ish goal season. But even on nights where he's not, he's still being, at least in a position to get some secondary assists and continue moving the puck and still put up points like that, I think is really big. And I think, again, not to make everything about the system, but I think that that's something that he also benefits from this McClellan system that is running, right? Like the fact that again, we've talked about it a lot, but the aggressiveness in the neutral zone from this team is just night and day different from what it was last year. And if he's a guy that can consistently get the puck on his stick in the neutral zone and then, zone entries, whatever, then that honestly, dare I say, even raises the ceiling more for a guy of his play style that's going to be aggressive when shooting the puck anyways, but can impact the game maybe in more areas than just strictly scoring goals. And I think that that's I'm not trying to overreact to one game. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, but I think that is something I saw in this game that maybe I was not used to seeing in previous years of DeBrincat.
Yeah, let's leave the overreacting to me, Scotty. That's my job. You know what's funny is you started talking, and I realized until the very end where you said the name again. I'm like, I didn't catch the name on who he's talking about because I was on my other screen pulling up statistics.
Could have been anyone.
Well, that's things that I'm like, it applies to both players in this case, right? Both Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat are the biggest beneficiaries of a very aggressive forechecking system. This is an offensive line in the second line with Casper as center that does not get a lot of defensive zone deployments. You put them in the offense to score goals, and they're very good at it. So if you're playing a system that caters to that style, and they're in the offensive zone even more, it's going to benefit them, and we saw it benefit them in this game. Not saying that like they didn't put the work in, because they absolutely put the work in. Some of those zone cycles in the offensive zone by everyone, but the second line in particular was nasty. The Marco Kasper's goal doesn't happen without Alex DeBrincat on an aggressive forecheck, getting to the boards first from like halfway across the zone to keep the play in the offensive zone alive. He pinches it in, keeps it in, gets it to Patrick Kane, who feeds Marco Kasper cut into the middle, who just snipes it over the shoulder. That's the top line doing second line doing what it does best. Then the Patrick Kane goal was just another really, really great cycle where by keeping consistent pressure on the Toronto defense, you're going to wear them down, make them tired, and eventually something's going to slip through the cracks. And in this instance, it was letting one of, if not the best American hockey player of all time, slip back door while going unnoticed, and DeBrincat hit him cross zone for a one-timer that he scored. So, and then of course the nice feed by Patrick Kane backdoor to Raymond for his second goal of the game. So it's just one of those games by, that entire line, but in particular, Kane and DeBrincat, where it's going, man, this system, this second line, which was already dangerous, is going to remain dangerous because they're going to get even more opportunities in the offensive zone and then more opportunities to keep it alive. So they played a fantastic game.
Just one last thing. I think that's a great point, and I think the pairs that are out there matter as well, right? And I guess that can transition us if there's anybody on the blue line that really jumps out at you. But like this, really, the big one is just the third pair wasn't a complete black hole in this game. But I think that there are some obviously defensemen that will benefit from this aggressive style as well. One, it's going to inherently, even if Seider's deployments are still heavily in the defensive zone, which they obviously will be, it at least gives him the opportunity to be on the ice for a little bit more offense if, with those successful things. So that's something. But I think especially with that, I get what you're saying. But I think that with that second pair is really, I think, where a lot of that more so comes into fruition than with Seider, right? Like this is, you're going to get an opportunity. Edvinsson, obviously, you're hoping can be this well-rounded do-it-all guy. But the biggest potential here is ASP being on the with that aggressive, heavy, forecheck and trying to get the puck in the offensive zone as soon as possible, because that is a guy that has a really high offensive ceiling. And if he can be on the ice when the ice is tilted toward your offensive zone, then I think that is best case scenario for him. And you could see fireworks here when he gets used to, the timing in the NHL and whatnot.
Right. I'm glad you brought up the defensive pairs. Before we get to that really quick, just circle back on Cat and Kane. One last thing. So that second line for the Detroit Red Wings led the team in 5-on-5 shot attempts share at 85%.
Beauty.
85. When they were on the ice, they made up 85% of the shot attempts between the two teams, which is an insanely high clip.
Yeah.
Again, they're getting a lot of offensive zone deployments over defensive zone because of the line makeup, but also you're getting more offensive zone deployments because you have the puck in the offensive zone more. So it's a double-edged sword in a good way, so to speak.
For sure, yes.
Going back to the defensive pairs, you're right about the Seider one to a degree, just because at the end of the day, with Edvinsson and ASP being paired together, and with a third pair, you're still kind of feeling out, seeing what the best options are. Seider and Sherrod are going to continue to get just defensive zone deployments up the wazoo. And yes, if you have the puck more, that will mean that they do get more offensive zone deployments just by default. But Seider played 28 minutes in this hockey game. He was an absolute horse in this game. fantastic. Sherratt was fine too. Don't mean to like undercut what Sherratt does, but we love Moritz Seider on this podcast, and Moritz Seider's the only one who played 28 minutes in this game. Sherratt didn't come close to that, I don't believe. Sherratt had 24 minutes, so somehow Seider played 4 more minutes than Ben Sherratt, probably with power play time, I would imagine, because 4 of it was on the power play. But Moritz Seider was an absolute workhorse in this hockey game, and he led the team, he and Sherratt led the team in defensive zone faceoffs at 8. Meanwhile, Edvinsson and ASP, to your follow-up point, led the defense in offensive zone faceoffs with, I think, 5. So you're quickly here early in the season starting to see how things are going to shake up and shake out in different situations. If you're in the defensive zone, you're going to have Seider out there. And that makes sense. He's your number 1 defenseman. You need him to be locked down, and you're playing Austin Matthews. He played, of his 28 minutes on the ice in this hockey game, 11 of those came against Austin Matthews at 5-on-5. So you're going to put him out there when Austin Matthews is out there, and they're going to put Austin Matthews in the offensive zone. It tracks. But, like you said, the offensive upside of Simon Edvinsson, and then, of course, ASP, that makes sense to deploy them in the offensive zone. And Bernard Docker and Albert Johansson, too. I mean, they both got a fair share of offensive zone starts as well. So you're just kind of early seeing how it's going to shake out. I want Moritz Seider to get more offensive zone opportunities, but I also understand with the makeup of this defensive lines right now that might just not be possible this season.
Sure.
So get ready for more Moritz Seider just being ran into the ground, playing nothing but defensive zone deployments. Actually, last year he didn't even get ran into the ground. He was just fantastic at it. But keep that in mind when you're watching these hockey games. Scotty, let's head to segment 3. When we return, there's so many more players to talk about in this hockey game. We haven't really even talked about the youth. I want to talk about the third line, power play, penalty kill, goaltending, lots left to cover in a short amount of time. So let's head to segment 3 coming up. The NFL season is here, and in fact, there's a game happening right now as we record this about 11:30 on Sunday morning. The Broncos are playing the Jets over in London. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love using FanDuel. It gives you so many ways to play. You can build parlays, try making player props, and even follow the live lines during the game. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the seats, FanDuel makes the gaming experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app and start today. All right, segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings. Scotty, do you want to talk about the youth? I know we kind of mentioned Finnie and kind of mentioned ASP, but we haven't talked directly about them in this hockey game. How do you think they performed?
I think they preferred pretty well. This is... You just knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I just knew.
No, but this is another game. I thought the biggest difference from game 1 to 2 between those 3 players, specifically the 3 rookies, was Finnie. I think he looked way more comfortable out there. And look, man, like if it's just going to take one game for him to relatively adjust to NHL speed and whatnot, then hopefully this is a really fun year for him. But I think that he's probably the person I noticed like I said, biggest difference from. MBN continues to impress the ever-living heck out of me. I am so impressed with every time he's on the ice. I know you want to talk about third line anyway, so we can kind of do that here. And then we've already talked a lot about ASP. I think he's been fine in 2 games. But yeah,
on the penalty kill.
I know, twice, like both games.
And he looked,
now.
he looked good.
Yeah, like he's just on the PK, which I never would have guessed, that he would not only make the team out of camp, but then also be on the penalty kill immediately in his first 2 NHL games. But you're right, man. He looks solid there. So I think that only obviously raises the floor and ceiling of that second pair and what the top 4 look like on the blue line. But I really if there's one that's impressed me through 2 games the most, it's MBN. But if there's one that impressed me the most in game 2 specifically, it's Emmitt Finnie.
I think you should just stick with Adam Finnie at this point. It's kind of a funny bit. I 100% agree with you. Emmitt Finnie had several moments in this game. He had a couple really nice opportunities to score.
He's such a good forechecker. I think it's just because he's the most aggressive forward I've ever seen in my life. But
early on in the first period, he goes in on a forecheck. It's like a standard-looking forecheck where like you kind of just pressure the defender behind the net to make him make a play before he's ready, but inevitably, usually it ends up like a chip pass up along the boards for a breakout. But no, he was so aggressive. He forced the turnover behind the Toronto net, and he just had to wait a second because everyone else was on a line change to catch up. But that's the type of aggressiveness that someone like Emmitt Finnie has to continually provide. And if he keeps doing it like that, he's going to continually provide support. He's going to continually prove himself. But Michael brandsegg-nygard, obviously on the third line, that third line was incredible all night long.
Dude, I never thought I'd be this excited about a line with Cop, Comfort, and a rookie. But here we are, man. I think they've looked fantastic through 2 games.
They're playing exactly how I had hoped they would in this system. It is. We talked about it in the first game. That was one of the few positives we had from that devastating loss to start the season.
Right.
Is that the third line plays so well defensively, but it's also such a heavy forechecking line. I don't think any 3 of them are particularly fast, but they just are pests. They do not leave you alone. They engage in those board battles. They win those battles for the puck. And then next thing you know, they're having an opportunity right out in front because they just do not go away. Michael brandsegg-nygard had an opportunity to score a goal. He was coming in, I think it was around the dot with just a wide open shot. Stolarz made a great save. And then Comfort that's going to be the downfall of this third line, is incredible at getting chances, terrible at finishing on them because Comfort fanned on a one-timer to give to score
that's
one.
What you hope MBN can bring, right?
Right.
That is why he's on that line, aside from just the fact that he has been praised as a good defensive forward his entire professional career. It is the fact that he has a strong shot, and you hope that putting him with 2 other guys that are obviously good defensive forwards, but maybe have issues finishing on a consistent basis, and Cop and Comfort, that he can provide a little bit more of that scoring on a line that otherwise is going to be stellar defensively.
They led the team as a line in defensive zone faceoffs, yet they came away from this hockey game with the second best Corsi percentage.
Yeah.
75%. So when they were on the ice, their line had 75% of the shot attempts versus the Maple Leafs. So I think that's a really good point of data. Most defensive zone faceoffs as a line, but the second best offensive chances. So I like that a lot. ASP, we kind of talked about him a little bit, but Axel Sandin-Pellikka was really, really good again. PK, we talked about it, surprising us. I think part of the reason he's on the PK is McClellan doesn't like breaking up his defensive pairs down a man and then having to figure it out to get them back together. So he's kind of like, okay, ASP, well, you were drafted 17th overall, so figure it out. This is where you're going to be getting big minutes here, and you're going to learn really fast. And he has. He looked good. The whole pair did. I'm trying to think. The one thing from this game I didn't like, I don't like the fourth line. Michael Rasmussen, a center, is just not figuring it out. As a line, they had just 29% of the shot attempt share.
Well, but what else do you do if you like the third line so much, right?
JVR. Put JVR in the lineup.
Sure.
He's coming back Monday. And the problem, too, is you got to replace Rasmussen at center, but I don't know how you do it unless Nate Danielson gets healthy. So, because Rasmussen's a fine winger, I just don't think he's an NHL center at this point in his career. Carter Mazur had a hat trick in Grand Rapids. He's clearly
sure did.
He's clearly like, I don't want to be here. I'm trying to prove to Yzerman, I don't need this.
Right.
So, yeah, there was a lot of fun from this hockey game. Penalty kill was perfect. Power play scored a goal.
Goaltending?
Cam Talbot was fine. I thought the third goal against was one that he should have made. The Domi goal, I believe. I have the stat sheet right in front of me. Yeah, the Domi goal, I thought that he should have made the save. I think there was a partial screen, but that's definitely a spot you want your goalie to make the save. The first goal was a huge defensive zone breakdown. Off the faceoff, Berggren just flew the zone. Didn't go to his boards at all. So when Moritz Seider rimmed it around, expecting Berggren to be there where his winger should be, no one was there, and it resulted in a turnover that resulted in a goal in their first shot of the game. So defensive lapse is a reason why they went down early, and then the second goal was just a really, really incredible deflection by Nicholas Roy. So,
yeah, it was.
I thought Talbot was fine. I didn't think he played poorly. I think the data is going to show he was worse than he probably was. I think there's probably just one goal he would want back. But this is what we're talking about, right? Like, this is why you need to have this play style of just carrying the play, carrying the pace, because you know your defense is thin. Like, as a team, you're not very good outside of really one line that's very good at it on the offense and like 1.5 defenders right now. So you have to have the puck on your stick more to mitigate the chances you give the other team, because they're early on the season. They're capitalizing on your mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's we don't have to regurgitate that for the millionth time. Like, that is the pros and cons of it. But I think that given the personnel on the roster, that's kind of what you have to do. And again, ultimately, I'm just thrilled that we're rooting for a hockey team that is like actually doing well at 5-on-5, because we're like 2 presidential administrations removed from the last time that happened. So,
and there was a lot of frustration too on my part, like frustration, not right, but like anxiety, where I was like, man, if this team cannot like break through, like, I know what this team, because in the second period, they had like 2 to 3 shifts of just continual offensive zone pressure, and they just could not score in Stallars. And I was like, early in the season, man, I know how this team is like, can be mentally soft, and I know McClellan has talked about it. And I'm like, if they don't get rewarded with a goal here soon, like, I'm nervous for the team and for the fan base, because I know how the fan base and myself can really swing on the emotional spectrum, shot to shot. But thankfully, as soon as Casper scored, it's like the floodgates open. And I'm like, yes, finally the team's getting rewarded with how well they're playing offensively. So, Scotty, do you have any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. Your team every day.